Today, we're chatting with Susan Ann Mason about A Haven for Her Heart, releasing in October. It's a brand new series. Susan, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
This series is set in Toronto. Your last series was set in Toronto, and because you live very near Toronto, of course, that makes sense. But is the time period different in this book than the last series? What time
Yes,
period are we looking at?
definitely. We're looking at 1939 to about 1945 span for the three books. So it's basically during World War II. So that's the kind of the background of it, of what's happening. But so it doesn't necessarily color the entire book, but it's always there in the background that the men are away at war and the people who are back at home, what they're facing.
The character in this, Olivia, meets Ruth, and they open a maternity home for troubled women, and it's doing fairly well. How much research did you have to do to sort of capture the essence of a maternity home in that era?
Yes, I did. I did try to research as much as I could. It was hard. Obviously, there's not a lot of material of homes back in that day. But the interesting part is I based Olivia on a real life woman whose name was Velma Demerson, and she lived in Toronto in 1939, and she was arrested under a strange little law back then for being incorrigible, and because she was pregnant and unmarried, and she was put into the Mercer Reformatory for women. And so she had a very horrible experience in there. So I did a lot of research on her I just found out about her through the newspaper article. And
Mhm.
she's actually written a book. So I actually bought her book and read it so I could really familiarize myself with what she went through. And then based on her experience, my character decides to use it and open a maternity home so that other women who are pregnant and unmarried wouldn't have such a horrific experience.
This wouldn't be a romantic novel without the love interest. And so that comes in the form of a businessman named Darius, whose family is kind of pressuring him to marry into a respected family, but he can't help but be attracted to Olivia
Yes.
because of her great compassion. She's gone through something that was really difficult for her and come out on the other side of that as a compassionate person. Um, Darius, is he based on anybody historical, or is just somebody that popped into your mind?
He's another one that just popped into my mind. I liked the name, so I kind of built the character in my head around the name. And I gave him a bit of a Greek background because she's an Italian from the Little Italy quarter of Toronto, and he's from Greek town in Toronto. So they both have similar backgrounds in that they both came from Europe, and they both have that ethnic, quality to them. But he's trying to escape the ethnicity and the prejudice in Toronto that he's finding, and instead he keeps getting drawn right back into it.
The story has a number of themes that it touches on. You just mentioned prejudice, but there's also a very redemptive story. They've made mistakes in the past, and is what they learn from that. Would you say that's kind of the main themes for the book?
Oh, definitely. Redemption is because Olivia, because she's what she's gone through and her family has disowned her because of it. She feels very unworthy for anything good in her life. And so it's up to Darius to kind of convince her that she's worthy. And also her journey, her spiritual journey with her faith. She still has a very strong faith to bring her to the realization that no matter what mistakes she has made, she's been forgiven, and she is deserving of happiness in her life as well.
Wonderful. The book is called A Haven for Her Heart, coming out in October, from Susan Ann Mason. Thank you so much, Susan, for spending time with us today to tell us about this new book.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to people's reactions to it. Thank you very much.